Hey folks, how is everything going on today? Chapter 10, Starving in Siberia. So I give you a little note here. Siberia is an area of Russia that is known for being being a very cold place with nothing around. It's actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that it qualifies as a desert. See, a desert doesn't mean that it's really warm and you have a lot of sun. What it means is that you don't get precipitation, you don't get rain or snow. So I'm not 100% sure whether it qualifies as a desert, but there's really nothing. There's no trees, there's no rocks. It's just like flat, open land with nothing. So, how does knowing that information I just told you about Siberia help you to understand why this chapter is called Starving in Siberia? Well, I'm going to say that at this point in time, during this chapter, it's really cold during the winter. Steve is feeling pretty alone in an empty place because nobody's paying attention to him and whatnot. And then, and the attention is going to Jeffrey. Then he has to stay with his grandparents because he has the flu, and there's nothing there. Nothing, no VCR, no TV, no DVD player, no computer, no was an Xbox or a PlayStation or something like. But so he's just really bored. Question number 2: what are 3 things that Steven is angry about? One is that nobody's paying attention to him. He feels as though he's in an empty place. Another is that he's doing a ton of work for school, a lot of worksheets, and he just feels that it's just busy work. I can tell you factually, as a teacher, when we give you what you might think is busy work, it's actually work that we need you to show that you know how to do, so that we can see what you need to learn more of or what you have already mastered. But in any case, he feels like it's just busy work. But he also is just really annoyed that everybody talking about Jeffrey like they understand what he's going through, or even talking to him like they know what he is going through. And he's just really very angry. In fact, later on in the chapter, he actually mentions that he's kind of angry at Renee Albert, of all people. Renee Albert. I mean, Renee Albert, the hottest girl in the 8th grade who he had a crush on for a while. Anyway, question number 3. One way Stephen can see that Jeffrey is reacting to the medicine to treat his cancer is that he is super hyper. What is another way that Jeffrey is responding? I gave you 2 more examples. Jeffrey lost all his hair, his beautiful golden ringlet hair, and his cheeks got fat. He gets kind of bloated because of the medication, because of the steroids. Question number 4. Why was Stephen sent to stay with his grandparents? And I already kind of mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Siberia. But Stephen, he got the flu. And because Jeffrey is so sick, he has a low white blood count, he cannot be around germs or viruses, and he cannot get the flu because that could kill him. So he has to stay at his grandparents' house. Question number 5. Why does Stephen describe his grandparents' house as Siberia? Because there's nothing for him to do, and he's really bored. Jeffrey misses Stephen while he's away. Describe a time when you missed someone that you cared for. So a time when I missed someone that I really cared for was I missed my daughter when we lived apart. It was when I was just divorced from her mother, and I had just moved out, and that made me really sad. Question number 7. What is a piece of good news that Annette gives Stephen? A piece of good news Annette gives Stephen is that Renee Albert was asking about how Stephen was doing. So at this point in time, Renee Albert, who he has a crush on, is acknowledging that he exists and paying attention to him. How do you think Stephen feels about what Jeffrey is going through? I think Stephen feels sad, and he feels kind of sorry for Jeffrey, because the more that we get described of what Jeffrey's going through, it makes him realize that it's painful for him, and it's not pleasant. It's not a vacation as he thought at one point in time, because he sees that Jeffrey's suffering. He wishes Jeffrey was not.